Hello everybody, welcome back. It's playoff time here in Pacific, so I thought I would make a little video breaking down each of the playoff teams for you, my thoughts on them, and who I think is going to be the key player for each team for this team to make it all the way to Masters London, because it's Pacific. Anyone can make it. We're just that talented. At the very top of the bracket, we have RRQ. And this is a team I am immensely confused about, to be honest. Their group stage here looks relatively clean. You can see wins against Zeta, Varel, Full Sense, DFM, with only that loss to T1. I think on paper, they look quite good. But then I think when you watch them play, I'm definitely a bit more worried about this team. Very close against Zeta Division, incredibly close against Viral. Full Sense, I think they actually picked up in form against Full Sense, but then against DFM, I think they should have lost that in two. So I really don't know what to make of this team heading into playoffs. But the thing is, we know that they know how to qualify for international events. They've been there before. I also think they really want to go to Vietnam. Obviously, Crazy Guy being from Vietnam, I do think that extra motivation does actually count for something, even though it sounds like it shouldn't, but I do think it will matter for this team. I think if I had to give them a form rating right now, for me, it's 6 out of 10. I don't think this is the best RRQ we've seen. I think it's far from it. I mean, let's just pull up this game against DFM, because I think this exemplifies everything that was going on. This Haven game, they lost it in OT, and Jemkin had arguably the worst day we've ever seen from him on Haven. The end stats don't look that bad, but he was, especially in this first half, he was down in the dumps. Now, yes, May had an unbelievable game. May was absolutely frying them, hitting heads left and right. He got 36 kills. That's not normal, but still, I think this RRQ team should never lose like this. And then, they win map 2, but that's also in OT, and I think you can't be going down to the wire against what I think are weaker teams like DFM. So 6 out of 10 form rating for me. And then if we want to talk about who I think the key player is, for me, it's gotta be Monyet, man. Look at this. He's only on the Neon, and his stats are wholly underwhelming. He has these maps where he can play it really incredibly well, and you start to feel like it's such a natural fit for him. Then you have other maps where he just goes in and dies, and it just doesn't look strong. I think especially when he's that solo Neon, he really does struggle to stay alive while making space for the team. So in my mind, in order for this team to make it all the way to Masters London, I really want to see a Monyet pop off. I mean, I worked with Monyet before. I really love him. He's a great guy and a wonderful player. But I think we can expect more from him. He's definitely good enough. So it's just, can he deliver on those days in playoffs? Next up, we got Global Esports. So I think this is a team that certainly deserve to make playoffs, but I will say their road to London is a little bit tough when we look through their group stage. Clean against Gen G, clean against Team Secret. They got a lot of people high on this team. Then you start to play those better teams in Keyroom, DRX, and PaperX, and both of those games were a really big struggle. I think that's why the team showed a lot of their inexperience, unfortunately. And then they got that win against Nongshim. I mean, this game against Nongshim, the last game of that group, which ultimately got them to start in that upper bracket. Man, this game was close, and I think not in a good way. They dominated Breeze. I have to say, loved what they did on Breeze. I was a really big fan of it. It was great game planning. They out-schemed Nongshim, and that's what makes this GE team special. What makes Frost such a brilliant coach is that he's really able to dissect these other teams when he has a firm read. But then after that in this series, I mean, this Bind game was really not good. They got dominated in the first half. To be honest, I think they could have won this game cleanly as well, but Nongshim were also trying to throw in this Bind map, if you ask me. And then Haven again goes all the way to the wire. It goes all the way to OT. For me to feel better about this GE team, I would have loved a dominant win there for them heading into playoffs. So if I have to give them form, I think I'm going to give them a 7 out of 10. I think they are still in good form relative to what we've seen from this squad in the past from kickoff. I think they're good. I think it's only that very top of the table teams that they will struggle against. But the problem is it's playoffs. Everybody is good right now. So I think if they can unlock that little bit extra, they really do have some solid chances. But I just worry that inexperience might be the downfall of this team. And then when we talk about key players, for me, I want to talk about Javi AK. He is the IGL of this squad, and he has so much to do. Frost runs complicated systems, lots of comp swaps. They play every map in the pool, and they're willing to swap around on them and then change game plans at a moment's notice. I think Javi has so much to do for this team inside of the server. And then, his individual performance will obviously end up tanking a little bit. It is tough to manage all of that and, frag effectively. I will say his Sage was great. Give me him on Sage, because Sage is so easy to play. So if Javi is the one that's able to pop off and he's able to call consistently well, that is going to be what gets this team to Masters London. We have Paper X. What is there to say about Paper X that hasn't already been said? Apart from this blip in this game against Gen G, where, I think something was horrendous in this game. They were still trying to figure out that Neon. And ultimately, they moved away from this. They moved back to something on the Jet, which I just love. I think this is a team that needs to keep it simple, needs to lean into player comfort. They did exactly that. And since then, they've been flawless, not dropped a map. And I think especially this game against DRX, they dismantled DRX. This wasn't even close. What was it? 13-5, 13-5? Yeah, 13-5 on Breeze, 13-5 on Lotus. And that's with KRX winning 2 pistols, by the way. So this Paper X team looks formidable. They were already people's favorites picks to go to London because they always are. They're unbelievable in this region. I think the form for me is probably approaching 9 out of 10 after that last game. I think since they've swapped back to the roles, we're getting nearer that peak Paper X. It looked like nobody can stop them, and that is what makes this team so special. I think these guys really have to be a shoo-in for Masters London, to be honest. They kind of always are for the international events. And if we want to talk about key players, I think it's going to be something for me. I could have said Jing here. He's been fragging like crazy. He's been on top of every single stats metric, but we already know that. I think he's having very consistent performances. Something, he had that tough time on the Neon. Just look at these Neon stats. 175 ACS compared to everything else, or especially the other duelists. The Jet versus the Neon here is insane. I love that they swapped him back to Jet, but I also feel like he can't afford to drop off in performance, or Jing is kind of left on his own a little bit. So if something is able to stay on this Jet and he's able to look consistent, I think that's the next level for this team. That's what unlocks Masters London and hopefully beyond. In my mind right now, they are the best chance Pacific has to win in London. So I think it's an easy team for us all to get behind, but obvious favorites to me to win the whole of Pacific and beyond. Kiwoom DRX. This is a team that I'm really not sure about. I was feeling really great about this team until we got to that game against Paper X and they got absolutely blown out. It really wasn't even close. That made me really doubt what this KRX team had thrown together. We look at everything else and it looked good, but even this game against Gen G, we all know the struggles Gen G have had this year. Nothing is working for them. Nothing's looking good for them. But it goes the distance. They get blown out in map 1. Map 2, they win 13-10 with a double pistol and a bonus, by the way. So incredibly close. And the Lotus is a Giga OT 19-17. You could have argued they should have lost this match very easily. So this makes me doubt their form, and especially then that Paper X game happened. I think their form is falling. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 overall because, they were still strong in the group stage. I think they still showed very good Valorant, but I just think it's dropping off right now. I'm worried that that's a 7 and it's trending downwards, which really isn't what you want in playoffs. And if we talk about the player, for me, that's most pivotal to this roster right now, it has to be Young. This guy, he had those pop-off maps on the chamber on Lotus where I was like, wow, this kid has so much potential. It's so easy to see why they picked him. And then basically everything else happened and he doesn't look good anywhere else. He doesn't look comfortable anywhere else. I feel like he's not even finding util value anywhere else. For me, Young has to be the one to step up if this team want to make it all the way to London, because otherwise he's becoming a liability when he's not on that chamber on Lotus. And that's very scary for me. So Young is the player I want to see the most from. Full Sense, again, are a team where I really don't know what to make of. They started almost perfectly. 2-0 against DFM, 2-0 against Zeta, 2-0 against Varo. Those were the weaker teams, but Full Sense were dominant in all of those matches. So I was feeling great, and then this game against RRQ happened. All of them had us predicted over RRQ. They looked like they were in way better form, and they crumbled. Then against T1, they ultimately lost to T1, who were a very, very tough opponent. But is this prime Full Sense? For me, absolutely not. I think we're down to sort of a 6 out of 10 form. And I think 6 out of 10 might seem a little bit harsh because they are still able to win games. But I think this is a team whose ceiling is enormous. I think their ceiling is world beaters, it's Masters champions level of skill, but then also their floor is just so low. And I think right now they're sat somewhere in the middle, bouncing between the two here. I want to see consistency from this squad if they want to make it to London, but I do think that they always have potential to make these very deep runs because we know just how explosive they are. When we talk about key players, I mean, there's only one guy that springs to mind for this Full Sense team. It's Primi. This guy is absolutely unbelievable at everything he seems to touch. Truly one of the best we have in Pacific. And I think, you know, there's people around him that need to do more that we would like to see step up on that team. But I think Primi absolutely can't afford to drop off. He does so much for this squad that I just have to see him keep going crazy. What's interesting is that he was playing a lot at Waylay. Even in week 4, where we got that Waylay nerf, he was still on it. And I will say I don't like that. I'd like to see them move away from that Waylay because he's just better at everything else. I think his Phoenix is unbelievable. I want to see his Phoenix almost everywhere. If we do that, then I think Full Sense start to become a real contender for Masters London. T1. These guys are just going from strength to strength, man. I mean, I feel like they've barely put a foot wrong. They've dropped one map all group stage to Full Sense, and even then they bounced straight back and it didn't even look like it phased them at all. I mean, form-wise for me, this is a 9 out of 10. This is looking like some of the best T1 we've seen. People will tell me, hey, look, you know, they've had an easy group. And yes, they had an easier group, but ultimately, they look dominant all the way throughout it. So I can't doubt their form. I still think everyone can, you know, come to play here in Pacific. And then we talk about, you know, who's going to be the player to watch. And I think it's Izu. You know, Izu is putting up crazy numbers on this Sentinel role. Yes, his chamber is amazing, but I also really like it when they put him on Killjoy. Even if Killjoy is kind of weak right now, I think he's so good at the agent that I'm fine with it. We saw him flex around, play Sova, play Teo, and he looked perfectly comfortable on that. He's shown he can do a variety of things for this team and still carry. He's going to be the guy in my mind that's going to get them to London and beyond. Again, these guys in my mind really are a shoe-in for London, and then the question becomes, will they be able to bounce back from Santiago? Because Santiago was very poor for this squad, and I would love for London to go better for them. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of these teams down in the lower bracket. These guys have a tough road ahead of them. If they want to make London, it's going to be incredibly difficult. We can't hide that. And we start off with DFM. So they started the group by getting blown up by Full Sense, blown out by T1. You know, we know that those are top of the table teams. They bested their Japanese organizational rivals in Zeta Division and Valorant. But both of these very close, you know, 2-1 games where I really feel like for you to be a contender, I need you to not be dropping maps. They dropped Bind against Zeta Division, and they also dropped Haven against Valorant. So I'm a little bit worried that you're playing these bottom of the table teams very close. But, you know, then there was the flip side happened. This RRQ game, spoke about it a little bit already, but they came out swinging. They won this map 1 in OT, and, you know, May had an absolute blinder. He's an unbelievable player. And Lotus, to be honest, they should have won. That was also in OT as well. A couple of easy fixes and mistakes, and they should have 2-0'd RRQ. So what does that mean about their form? Are they on an upswing? For me, no, I actually don't think this team is in very good form. You know, they still make playoffs, so it's never terrible, but I think it's 5 out of 10 for me. They needed a May life game to kind of take it close against RRQ, and also Jemkin had to have a Giga Stinker. Ultimately, this team in kickoff, I was really excited about because I felt like they were exploring different strats and tactics, and I felt like it was a cohesive team. And I'm worried that it's heading back the way of May and friends. I feel like it's regressing, so that's why my form rating for them is so low. And then when we talk about, you know, who's the key player for them, in my mind, it's everyone but May. May is always consistent, he's always putting up numbers, but we have to see consistency from the others. Kaide has had good games, Cess has had good games. We've seen Yatsuko play that chamber great, now he's kind of locked into this supportive role, and the same is true for Akame, where he's been thrown in on this Neon a little bit. I need to see the other 4 members of this team really, you know, pull their finger out if they want to make this all the way to London, because we know May is going to frag. The question to me, how does this team look overall? So I want to see those 4 guys really start to define their own identities that isn't just, guys, we're helping out May. And now the final team left to talk about is going to be Nongshim Red Force. You know, close games against Paper X and DRX coming back from Santiago. I think I was much higher on this team when they were having those close losses. We saw the role change come in. You know, I spoke about this so much now, where Danby moves across to the Phoenix. Francis plays that Neon. And I just hate it. I really, really hate it. I think they're limiting themselves in what they're able to do. And this Global Esports game showed it for me. I don't think Global played Unreal. I think if we move that first map aside, especially because I think Global had a real big read on them, which also is incredibly worrying for Nongshim because Nongshim showed this composition. They showed that they love to end A. They tried to go A. GE stopped them every single time. That to me means the game planning is not robust, it's not strong, and that scares me for this team. And I also think the individuals for this team are just not popping like they used to. So if I have to talk about their form, I think this is a weak looking Nongshim Red Bulls. I'm going to give them a 4 out of 10 right now for form. And maybe that's, again, I'm being harsh, but we just saw this team lift the trophy over in Masters. And yes, the meta has shifted, but it's still a Neon meta. And that was your main thing. Like, I feel like your form can be so much better than it is if you fix those role issues, if you build in more robust game plans. I think that number could spring up so easily, and that's why I'm so down on them. So 4 out of 10. And when we talk about key players, I hate to keep harping on about it, man, but I got to see Francis be better on this Neon. You're filling the shoes of probably the greatest to ever do it in terms of Neon, and you're struggling. You're messing up with util. You're not managing to stay alive. You're not, Danby spoke a lot about being the tank, about how he's soaking up this util. Francis is just dying, so he has to step up. I need to see better from him on the Neon, because Danby's able to frag on the Phoenix now. That's not a surprise. He's good at it, but you need a good Neon in this meta. So I need Francis to step up there for each of these teams to make it to Masters London. In a rapid fire way to do this, if I had to pick 3 teams that I think we're going to send to London, I think PaperX and T1 are an absolute lock-in, and then that third spot is really open in my mind. I think KRX, Full Sense, I think those are probably the 2 vying for it the most there. I think you can put GE in that bracket a little bit there as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it to Full Sense just because I think their ceiling is really high, and if they just hit a hot streak, they can go all the way. But truly, I think we have great teams here. I'm really, really excited for these playoffs. I think it's going to be banger match after banger match. So let me know if you agree with any of my ratings or my star players. Let me know who you think is going to make it to London down in the comments below. And I'll see you all next time.